Structuring an accessible table in Word and PowerPoint. As you create content, you may find that certain information, such as syllabi, rubrics, or mathematical data, appears the most organized when presented in rows and columns as a simple table. Rather than using the spacebar or tab key to create a table, Word and PowerPoint have built-in tools that allow you to create a table that is not only structured but also accessible. In this video, we'll take a look at how to create a new table in both Word and PowerPoint. In Word, select the Insert tab and click Table. Mouse over the squares to see a preview of the table and simply click when you've reached the desired number of columns and rows. Alternatively, if you'd rather enter the number of columns and rows, select Insert Table. Next, we'll give the table a title. Hover the mouse over the table and a plus sign appears above the table's upper left corner. Right-click the plus sign and select Insert Caption. The table's title should describe the table's content. My table will include weekly assignments and readings, so that's what I'll type next to Table 1. Click OK, and our title appears above the table. Now we'll identify the header row. The header row is usually the first row of a table. It contains the titles of the columns and is required for accessibility, but it's also a feature that comes in handy when your table extends beyond one page. When that happens, the header row will be repeated at the top of the next page, making it easier to refer to the column titles. To create a header row, highlight the first row and right-click. Select Table Properties, and then the Row tab. Check the box next to Repeat as Header Row at the top of each page. Then we'll close the dialog box. Next, we'll need to ensure that none of the rows break across pages. That will be helpful if the table reaches the bottom of the page. The last row will move to the top of the next page instead of breaking between the two pages. Hover the mouse over the table, right-click the plus sign, and select Table Properties. If it's not already selected, select the Row tab and uncheck the box next to Allow Row to Break Across Pages. Then close the dialog box. There we go! Our table is accessible and ready for information to be entered. As you enter information, you can create a new row by placing the cursor in the last cell and pressing Tab. To delete a row, highlight it, right-click, and select Delete Rows. Make sure to use all of the cells in the table and avoid merging or splitting any of the cells. Keeping the table as simple as possible will ensure that it is accessible. When the table is complete, we'll need to give it an alternative text because Word considers tables an object, and all objects, such as images and tables, require alternative text. Just like we did earlier, we'll open the Table Properties dialog box, but this time I'll click the Alt Text tab and type some information to describe the table's basic layout. For this example, we'll describe the layout as a basic table with 4 columns and 16 rows. When you need to create a table in PowerPoint, some of the steps may feel familiar. We'll start with a new slide and select the Insert Table command. I'll enter the number of columns and rows and click OK. Then I'll use the title placeholder to type a title for my table, making sure to identify that there is a table on this slide. When you create a new table, PowerPoint creates a header row by default. We can see that by selecting the Design tab and locating the table style options. A check appears next to Header Row. We'll leave this as the default selection. All set! This table is accessible and ready for content. When you need to structure information or data into rows and columns, using an accessible table will help you to organize the presentation of your content.